G'day plumbers, Wes Zandt here from the Down Under Centre. Guys, I'm a plumber by trade, okay? I'm from Melbourne, Victoria, and I completed my apprenticeship back in, I believe it was 2005. And I arrived in the UK in 2008, and I've been here ever since. Plumbing in Australia is a little bit different to the UK. Plumbing in Australia, we do water, sanitary, gas, drainage, roofing and mechanical. We haven't outsourced or privatised any part of the industry. Okay, we do a 4-year apprenticeship. You've got to complete a 4-year apprenticeship. Depending on the state and territory you do your apprenticeship in, there'll be different requirements. So for me, coming from Vic, I did my 4-year apprenticeship, and at completion I did a journeyman exam, which was a 5-day practical exam running through water, sanitary, gas, drainage, roofing and mechanical. Completion of that, I was then issued with my Certificate 3. So the end goal for you plumbers to work in Australia is to get that Certificate 3. Okay, so how does a plumber migrate to Australia? Well, lots of jobs in Australia for plumbers. It's the highest paid trade in Australia. So lots and lots of work and lots of money to be made for our plumbers. So how does a plumber migrate to Australia? The first thing that you need to do is you need to find your occupation on the skilled list. Now, plumbing will always be on the skilled list because it's a licensed trade, but do check. You can check on our website, or you can check on the Home Affairs website. Once you've identified if your occupation is on the skilled list, the next thing you need to complete is a plumbing skills assessment. Now, the reason why we need to complete a plumbing skills assessment, because you need to be assessed to prove you have the necessary skills, therefore you can apply for a visa to migrate to Australia. So if you are looking for a skilled visa, a plumbing skills assessment is mandatory. So what is a plumbing skills assessment? A plumbing skills assessment is mandatory for the purpose of a skilled visa, but also if you are looking to work as a plumber in Australia, it would be in your best interest to complete this, because this is the pathway to gain your plumbing registration in any state or territory of Australia. So if your partner is the main applicant and you're a plumber and you're looking to work in Australia as a plumber and continue in this great trade that we all share, then the skills assessment will be required, and I'll talk to you a bit about that in a minute. But visa side. So you need it for a visa. First part of a skills assessment is what we class as a documentary assessment. This is where you need to prove on paper that you have the necessary skills. So what do we look for? Okay, what we look for is, do you have either, let's say you're from the UK, if you have an NVQ level 3, then you are only required to provide 4 years of paid work experience, and that's pre or post qualification. Let's say you have an NVQ level 2, or you never completed any apprenticeship, but if you can prove 6 years of paid work experience, then you are eligible to move forward. So if you've got the 6 years of experience without an NVQ level 3, happy days, that's good news. If you haven't, you have to keep working to that. Okay, they're very. It is a requirement that is needed for the skills assessment. So qualification, and for your full qualification from your country, so you're in the UK, NVQ level 3, 4 years of paid work experience, happy days. Anything less than that, 6 years of paid work experience will be enough. So the documentary assessment, you need to prove your qualifications if you've got them. Then you've got to definitely prove your work experience for the years that I've just mentioned. You've also got to map that out against detailed CVs, references, pay documents, tax documents. Sounds easy, but many people think this is one of the hardest parts of the process, because you have to map what you're saying via proof. Therefore, when your assessment's in process, we can give you a positive skills assessment, okay, for the documentary assessment. The second part of the skills assessment is a technical interview. Now, a technical interview is completed by one of Australia Trade Training College's assessors in Australia. Okay, it will be done over Skype or Zoom, usually around about 6:30 AM UK time, depending where you are in the world. We don't just pick out a time and say, yep, plumber, you've got to be there. It'll be all sorted for you. Okay. During this conversation, you'll be asked questions about your plumbing experience. We'll be focusing on what you've said on your CV and what the references have said. And as an assessor, and the assessor's job is to tick boxes to make sure that you actually have the necessary skills so we can get you through. So it's all about ticking boxes. The assessors are not there to catch you out. They're there to ask you questions. Very friendly, just another plumber chatting to another plumber. The only difference is this plumber holds an Australian qualification, and they also are a qualified trainer and assessor in Australia. So they deliver training to plumbers either going through apprenticeships or Australian plumbers via recognition of prior learning. So they've got the necessary skills to deliver this assessment. So don't panic. If you're a plumber, you'll be absolutely fine. The last stage is a practical assessment, and that will be done with myself down here from the Down Under Centre in London. So the practical assessment, we started around about 8:30, 9 o'clock. During the assessment, I'll give you some drawings. In those drawings, I'll ask you to complete a first fix, or in Australia, we refer to that as a rough-in. So a bit of copper work. So it won't be soldered or welded. It will all be compression, push fit, for example. I'll give you a drawing, follow the measurements, pull some bends where we ask. We'll give you a selection of material where you can pick and choose from, and you're basically creating the design we want from the drawings, okay, using copper work. The copper will be tested. Okay, you'll clip it all to our boards that we provide and everything. We will provide all the material. You'll also be asked to complete some drainage work, so a bit of 100 mil, give you a stack, tee off from the stacks, branch off to a couple of 40 mil PVC to a couple of traps. Again, follow the drawing and you'll be absolutely fine. You'll be asked to provide your tools on the day, but you'll be given a list of what tools you are required. Now, this assessment is mandatory. The assessing body for the federal government of Australia is TRA, Trades Recognition Australia. And Trades Recognition Australia have outsourced this work to Australia Trade Training College, here on my shirt. And their responsibility is to deliver the skills assessments for the purpose of migration, as well as your how to get your plumbing registration, depending on which state or territory you want to move to in Australia. So once you've got your skills assessment, how does it work? What do you receive after you have completed the practical assessment? So, completion of the practical assessment, if you're deemed competent, which I'm sure you will if you're a plumber, okay, you will be issued with your full Australian skills assessment. So now it's time to get that skilled visa lodged. You will also receive a document called an OTSR, which stands for Offshore Technical Skills Record. So you've got a document you need for the visa. It's mandatory for a skilled visa. You've got to get it done. You've also got the document that when you arrive in Australia, you can go to any plumbing regulator of Australia. So in Australia, we have different regulators, okay? Each state has a different regulating body. So I'm from Victoria, okay, so it's got a different regulating body to Brisbane or to Queensland, New South Wales, etc. So I can run through that individually with you guys depending on where you're going. But it's a very common scenario. Each state and territory will issue you with a provisional plumbing registration on arrival by showing them the OTSR. You will then be asked to complete the gap training. So what is the gap training and why is the gap training important? Well, to be a licensed trade, which plumbing is, you are required to learn the Australian regulations. So during your assessment process, we can't assess you against Australian regulations because you don't have them. You're not aware of them. Okay? We don't just assess people from the UK. If you hold a UK, Irish, European or South African passport, we'll be looking after you if you are a plumber looking to head to Australia. So we can't assess you on Australian regulations, so therefore you need to learn them because it is a licensed trade. So the gap training works in two ways. The first part of the plumbing gap training is you are employed. You have to work for an employer. Now this employer, this process will generally take anywhere from it can take up to 12 months, and that will depend on overtime, if you've worked weekends, etc. like that. Your employer will be given, it's called e-profiling. It's like a tick sheet where your employer has to say that you've done the certain tasks that are relevant. And he puts little hours next to them, gives a little tick. Now, this does not mean in all cases that you are going to be paid less. We work with lots of employers, and those employers are happy to pay plumbers the going rate. Okay, it just means, let's say, Billy, you're the plumber and you've migrated from the UK. You've got 15 years of experience. I can't say, oh, Billy, you've got your provisional license. Go down to number 37 and plumb in the gas stove. It would be like, okay, Billy, you come with me because I'm a domestic plumber. Let's go do that together. If you're working industrial or commercial, you'll be working with plenty of plumbers anyway. Okay, so it does not mean that you'll be getting paid an apprentice wage. It just means that you can't be left by yourself working. Now, once you have completed this, you'll then be asked to head to the Queensland office, where you can complete a a week's training, okay, and that is learning how to use your regulations, etc. Completion of the training, you will then be issued, Australian Trade Training College will then issue you with your full certificate 3 as a plumber. You then take that back to the regulator, where the regulator will issue you with your plumbing registration. At this point, you are now able to do work for a plumber. If you, depending on the state and territory you go to, again, I can't stress this enough, guys, each state and territory has different requirements. Some will ask you to complete licenses. So in Victoria, if you were to sign your own gas work off, you would then go and do a week course and complete that to get that signed off. All right, so it's quite a big thing to migrate to Australia as a plumber. It's needed for skills. The skills assessments is needed for the purpose of a visa. It's also needed for the purpose of the gap training. How do you get a job in Australia working as a plumber? Okay, so if you're from the other side of the world, obviously we spoke about gaining the OTSR to get your registration, but obviously you need the visa. The Down Under Centre, we're very proud. We work with different plumbing employers. Okay. We've anything from labour hire companies to large plumbing commercial companies to domestic plumbers as well. So jump on the DUC Employment Hub if you're looking for some jobs. We can help you with that. Also look at there's large, Seek.com and other services where you can find jobs. But it's very difficult. I think one of the concerns our plumbers have, it's a bit of a catch-22. A lot of employers won't take you on until you can hold a registration. The only way you can hold a registration is by completing the skills assessment. So do a little bit of planning before you actually arrive in Australia. Contact the regulator. The regulators are busy. You can't just arrive on a Monday and say, hey, here's my OTSR. Can you give me my provisional license? Each regulator is going to ask you for different information. So perfect practice makes perfect. So try and do that. Now, the Down Under Centre, we can actually assist you through that process. So getting a job in Australia, I mentioned earlier, it is the highest paid trade. Okay, it's us and electricians, but we can always, get those electricians down if we have to. But it's very well-paid trade. And again, there's different areas of plumbing. A lot of people, as we do water, sanitary, gas, drainage, roofing, and mechanical, you're not expected to to do all of that. If you can, great. If you're doing domestic plumbing, maybe a bit of commercial, you'll touch on a lot of that. But generally what will happen is you'll end up finding your feet and then working for a company. If it's doing new builds, it might be doing HVAC work. It could be doing roofing. There's lots of money to be made in roofing in Australia, drainage, everything, it's good. So there's lots of different opportunities for plumbers. That's good. Now, how does the DUC help you? So we can help you. So we know exactly what's required to get you through a plumbing skills assessment. We can also give you a free consultation as well. So if you want to talk about your visa options or discuss what's involved in the plumbing skills assessment, give our UK office a call and we can run through that. We've got plenty of tools to make life easy for you to get to Australia as a plumber. And my phone will always be on to chat to plumbers. It's how I got into this industry, helping plumbers migrate to Australia. So it's definitely something I'm very passionate about with that. So guys, I wish you all the best. As I said, be prepared. You've got to manage your expectations. When you do arrive in Australia, you will be required to do the gap training. If you are the partner of the main applicant, I highly recommend you do the skills assessment, because you don't want to arrive in Australia, go to the regulator, and then they ask you for the OTSR. Therefore, you'll need to do the skills assessment while you're in Australia, which makes it harder to gather all the required documents if they're in your country of origin. So plumbers, all the best. Give the Down Under Centre a call, or jump on our points calculator, or flick us an email, and we can walk you through the process. All right, catch you later.